Okay, wait.
All right, fix it.
Wait.
No, to my left. Yeah. That was not better at all. Okay.
Okay, there. It's modern art.
You're killing it. Perfect. This is it. Oh, even better. Even.
I fucking quit.
Welcome back, marketing nerds of the world. It is time for another episode of HAMYAW. And today we want to talk about pink flags. Not quite a red flag and not quite a green flag, but something in between. So a pink flag, especially when it comes to new clients or customers for a new service that you have, are moments and phrases and ideas and questions that sort of send up your hackles maybe a little bit, but aren't enough to be an instant no. The trick about pink flags, folks, is that you have to learn when a pink flag is in fact red and when it just happens to be a flag that is pink. There are so many different ways to approach having to parse through these kinds of communications and figure out whether a client said something because they're a bad fit or because they had a bad experience or because they're just trying to make their needs known so they can be met. So we're going to get into what pink flags look like when it comes to clients, how to work with them and dig underneath the layers, and ultimately how to decide for yourself whether the flag is pink, red, or something else entirely. But before we get into that, Margot, talk to me about your pink flags.
They're so hard because identifying red flags is hard enough. And then when you get a handle on something, you and I've discussed this many times, but a client who's constantly in a rush and needs something yesterday, red flag, right?
Yeah.
We know that that's going to be a difficult client no matter what. And you can opt into dealing with a client like that, or you can opt out, but at least you know what you're getting into. With a pink flag, there's a confusion around whether you are walking into a trap or whether this person is just a little overwhelmed and that's why they're hiring you.
Yeah, exactly. I find often pink flags are brought about by people who have had negative experiences with other service providers as well, which is extremely common and kind of difficult to parse.
Well, let's start here. I think that there are certain things that we hear predictably and repeatedly and consistently, all of us in our businesses, and the discussion of what's a red flag, a pink flag, or we're going to call it white. No, white is when you don't do
green
something.
flag.
Green flag.
Yeah.
Green. Right. Sports.
No, just a stoplight. But go on.
I think some of this is about what you can handle reasonably. So like what might be a red flag for me could be a green flag for you. I do want to caveat this conversation within that like something that might be a hard no for us could work well with your personality. So know this about yourself. But there are certain themes that we have seen in our career and in the careers of those around us, where there are predictable patterns of behavior that lead to difficult outcomes. And the pink is just the indistinguishability of some of those traits.
Yeah, I love that you raised that point because like a pink flag can be an issue or it can just be an issue for you. Yeah. So a pink flag might be a pet peeve. So if somebody's like, well, I know the sessions are every 2 weeks, but I want to do 2 sessions a week because I think I can handle it. And you're like, well, you have a lot of energy I just don't have right now. Like that might be a pink flag for you. But before we get any further into the conversation, I want to do just a quick list of some general pink flags. So I think generally the first one is something along the lines of, I've been burned a lot of times. Can you make this happen for me?
Yes.
And the reason why that's a pink flag, and we'll get more into this in a few minutes, but while some people have had bad experiences and need to be honest about them in order to grow, that's what makes that a pink flag. And some people might say that's a red, because if somebody comes right out the gate being like, everyone else has failed me, will you solve my problem? That tends to be a little bit of a warning sign that something else is afoot. And then the second kind of pink flag, I would say most commonly is something like, well, I'm just not really clear on the offer. When there's a whole sales page for them to check out, if only there was somewhere you could go to get this information. But that is also a sign that you may not have explained it well, correct?
Right. So determining attribution of pink flags is important because there are definitely times where I get off a sales call and I'm like, I botched that.
Yeah.
Like I really was confusing. I wasn't clear on what this is for and who it's
100%.
for. I'm not sure they were a right fit. And even if they were a right fit, I didn't explain it well. And that's just a part of the growing and learning process. But that's distinctly different from a program you sold many times. Yeah. You get on a sales call with the person. They sound great. They seem like they're tracking with you. And then you get an email afterwards. It's like, number one, if it's really long, that's always a flag for me. Number two, if it addresses or asks questions that you thought you answered in the call. And then the kicker of, okay, well, can you just be clear, like what I'm getting? And I'm always like, what did you sign up for? Like, what do you think that I do? I'm not a magician. That one's always a weird one. Can we go back for a second to the one that you said, and then I'm going to add to this list about having been burned and the different ways this looks? Because I think there are different ways that people present. They'll say, you know, I've hired a lot of coaches before. It always results in you having to prove yourself more because of their past experience.
Yeah.
And the reason that's a pink flag is if they have sincerely been burned, but still need this service, they're not setting you up for a gotcha moment, right? They're sincerely like wanting to let you know that this is sensitive to them, but they really care, right? That's a good person to work with. But if they're telling you and they're like, no, tell me why you're different, then that's antagonizing. Right? Like, especially if you have a huge online presence or they've been following you for a while and like there are things that they should know the answer to.
Absolutely. And I think that also the reality is, especially now that we're getting into, been in the coaching world for a little while now, like there's a lot of coaches with an approach that doesn't necessarily jive with what the person was initially looking for. Like I was talking to a client who was in like a serious revenue rut and somebody had told her to do visualization exercises for target, which is great, but it's not necessarily the hard strategy that she would have needed in the moment. So those kind of stories I understand and recognize because I've lived them. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been on the other side of it, but you're right. Where it slips from pink flag into red flag is when it's less, hey, here's my past experiences. I want to make sure this doesn't happen again. And into, how are you different? Dance, monkey, dance.
Dance monkey. Yes, I saw this a lot. Not when I was coaching, but when I was marketing, and people would be like, I paid an agency $50,000. Then I paid one $20,000 and they did nothing. And I'm like looking over the contracts and I'm like, well, yeah, because you signed a bullshit contract.
Congratulations.
Uses words like strategy and there was nothing here. There was no deliverable. And they're like, I just don't understand marketing. And I'm like, then what are you hiring us for? People who have that kind of ignorance and learned helplessness toward what you do, but then expect you to deliver something, that's where it becomes a huge red flag. And I saw that a lot with marketing. I saw that a lot with like, people thought marketing was a panacea that could fix a broken business. People didn't read a contract and hired you for copywriting, but really wanted website design, but didn't know how to articulate it. Like, this is where we have to qualify our leads better. And that's usually how you get rid of this problem. But especially at the beginning, and I put beginning in air quotes, like the first 5 years or 10 years of sales, it's like you are still getting to know your service. You're still doing bespoke contracts. You're still reacting to the market in a way that's generally positive, but it leads you to some of these circumstances where you're around people who aren't necessarily well qualified because you don't know what you need yet.
Yep, absolutely. So we've got the pink flag number 1 is the horror stories right off the gate. Pink flag number 2 is what do I get? What would you say pink flag number 3 is?
Boundary violations.
Oh, yes.
So if we have not signed a contract and you're calling me on the phone or asking for my phone number or texting me a lot or DMing me a lot, like that kind of stuff, it's a pink flag because some people sincerely, and I think I'm one of these people, like we have a lot of feelings. And a lot of things to say.
Me? Not at all.
And confuse and blur the line between friend and colleague. And so like that can lend itself to getting access to your time in a way that's inappropriate and then starts the foundation of a working relationship off on the wrong foot where they think they have access to you all the time.
Yep. I think that's really important as well. And again, like I'm with you because I'm a talker. I love people in my DMs. I love the conversations. Some of you viewers, I am a regular Instagram DM pen pal buddies with, and I genuinely love it. But you're absolutely correct. What has been really beautiful about the clients I work with inside Power Position and all of that is that often when we start working together, they will actually step back from the DMs because they have access to me in Voxer, because they have access to my email. So it becomes less urgent. But I have had moments where I've been talking to clients and prospects, and all of a sudden it's just machine gun fire. It gets to a point where you're wondering if they actually want support or if they just want access to your energy.
Yes.
And they want the attention and, you know, the on-command insights. And I think that's a pink flag. And it depends so wholly on what kind of person you're talking to, because I'm really blessed with great clients and a great community who respect the boundaries. And once work begins, they actually back off because they know like there are now parameters. And some of them I have to encourage to even use the platforms. I'm like, you got Voxer access. I'm gonna need you to use it. But ultimately, I think what it comes down to is just being really mindful of that, being cautious and being able to spot when it's crossing the line.
Yes. And when you have been responsible for those violations. I think that's really important because I used to bemoan boundary violations and then not understand that it was me being like, call me at this time. Here's my phone number. I'm available all the time. And then me interrupting my friends being like, Hillary, listen, I know you're upset, but my person is calling and I need to take this. And then I become their emotional janitor. And then I'm like, God, why are they calling me so much?
It's the worst because you told them to.
You told them to. And watch your behavior. And so I actually learned this from Tristan Harris, who was one of the like Google design ethicists back in the day. And he cited a study that said how you respond to someone's first email sets the foundation for what they expect from you in terms of response time. So I think about this now with DMs, with emails, with text messages. If it is from a new person, including readers, I will consciously take time, even if I see it coming in, just to set that boundary that like, I'm doing other things. We're not doing the IM via email thing.
Yeah, of course.
And that's not how this works.
Yep. I think that's the other reason for the pink flag. Because it's like, what is your role in this? Why are people reaching out to you? Is it because you're just that available? You know, and I think that can be a blessing. And I believe in access. That's why I believe in social media so much, you know, evil empire though it may be. I think ultimately I love that access. And I think that connection is really powerful. But you're right. Like you have to look at, is this person violating the boundary because they're throwing up red flags or because I have created an invitation to do so?
That's right. That's right. And also content matters. Are they telling you about business related things? Are they trying to become your friend? I think that would be the next pink flag, which is like working with friends and that thin line of when something goes from friendship to transaction. And
100%.
what that necessitates, what that allows, what the boundaries are on that, how it becomes a working relationships, what you owe them, what you don't. It's hard.
It is. It's tricky. And then that brings us to, as a matter of fact, folks, our fourth pink flag, which is trying to mess with your process. And this is usually, I would call this more of like a fuchsia flag, or maybe like a maroon, because it's like getting towards the red zone pretty much. But this is a big issue. You know, no matter how high up you get, you're going to experience this where you have a client being like, well, what if I didn't fill out the intake? Or, well, you know, I'm very busy, so if we could just like skip this call, do you think you have enough? And that is a pink flag, I think, for two reasons. Because one, sometimes a client doesn't actually need to do those things. And you're like, okay, great. Like you already have this done. This is fine. But other times it creates a really tricky relationship where you're having to fight for your process and your value every step of the way. And let me tell you, folks, nobody wants to do that.
Diminish your own value. Like the amount of times that I've been like, I guess I don't really need to do strategy for that. I guess they do know their avatar. I don't need to talk to their people. And then I sit down and I try and do their marketing and I'm like,
I take it all back. I lied to me. I'm the worst. Yep.
Or on the flip side, adding to your process. Like I had people that were constantly interrupting my process where I'd be like, I'm going to go in the dark now. I'm going to copyright. And then we're going to review things together. And they'll be like, can I just see the document while we're, no,
not at all.
See the document. Then I get those feedback. It's like, I really don't feel like this is on brand. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. It's a first draft. It's not even what I want to say either.
You have no idea how messy this gets. Get out of here. Oh my God. I'm having flashbacks because early in my career, I had a client who would go into the Google Doc drafts and sit there and watch me work. I'm not kidding. And I would see her face in the upper right-hand corner of Google Docs and just be like,
that's masochism.
She's here. And this is back when there was chat in Google Docs. So sometimes she would chat me and be like, I don't know about this. Or she'd be like, it's so cool to watch you work. And I'd be like,
Is that what you're doing?
Dance, monkey, dance. But yeah, is that what you're doing? Oh, actually, and I've also had this experience with my mom where she's literally sat behind me sometimes and watched me work and been like, there's a typo. She's British, so there's a typo. there's a typo. My mom calls me Misty. It's a long story. So it's kind of like that feeling. And sometimes clients know exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And they're efficient. They know if what they have is already working. Sometimes you can skip steps. But overall, you're going to get into a situation like Margot described. Where you're going to be like, yeah, I guess. And then you get into it and you're like, I guessed wrong. And I've made a terrible mistake.
Remember what you're charging for. Like,
yeah.
Depending on your service offering, like there were parts where when the client would ask those kinds of questions, it was clear they were devaluing my role as a expert in the field, as a fiduciary, as someone who was a trusted advisor versus a technician. And so I would start to question like, oh, maybe this like $30K project really was just $400. What was the point of that? You know what I mean? Like you go down that route and you open yourself to those kinds of questions. Like I would have in requests coming in that were like, okay, so we're not a big company and I don't want like a big like PowerPoint or whatever. Can you just make us a logo? And I'm like, sweetheart, that's why God invented Fiverr. If you want just a logo, then like, don't hire an agency and don't have strategy. And like that request in and of itself suggests you don't understand design and you're not at the right stage for branding. And like, it takes a while as a service provider to recognize these things because sometimes those inquisitions, and this is why it's a pink flag. Sometimes if you get enough of those kinds of questions, you go, maybe I invent Fiverr, right? Like maybe it leads your business in a different direction where you see a certain amount of demand. But if you know your stuff, Hillary and I both know that we need certain things in an intake form. There's a reason we're doing it. We're not making you get on the phone to waste your time. And this is, again, dealing with horrible stories, the pink flag number one. Lots of times when people want to deviate from your strategy and from your process, it's because someone else wasted their time.
Yeah, exactly right.
Cool. Okay. So as we think about getting more clients, getting and attracting more of the right clients, we always want to be mindful of red flags, but the pink flags to look out for are those moments where we're like, this could be good. I'm not sure we'll go on a date.
Exactly. Go on the date, folks. If it's not a red flag and you feel like it's a pink flag, go on the date, but also have your what is a red flag parameters in mind. Why are these pink flags to you and what's going to make them go red and what's going to make them go green or white, which follows the color metaphor a little better.
I want to add that like the way to really get conclusive on these things is number one, huge amounts of self-awareness and honesty about your own role in some of these flags. And number two, experience. There is just no shortcutting. So like, we'd love to give you a 4-step process for identifying pink flags, but really
we would.
It is not possible because all of us are different and you just need to be in the arena doing it over and over and over again. And frankly, getting burned enough times and hearing stories from your colleagues. So this is why we always encourage creative allies. Get
your iMessage group chat game strong, folks. Seriously, you won't regret it.
Send us a screenshot of the email.
Do it. Give your iMessage group chat a creative name, screenshot it, and send it our way. Maybe we'll do live review on an episode here on the show. So to that end, we want to hear about your pink flags. Tell us, what's a red flag for you? What is a pink flag for you? How do you determine the difference? Where have you been burned? When were you like, actually, this is something that I could work with? I don't know. So if you like this episode, please like it below, subscribe to our channel, comment, and share it with your friends. I am Margot Aaron. And I'm Hillary Weiss.
This has been HAMYAW, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.